go in and look at the state of the building. The physical state of the building is one thing, the state of the tenants, and to see like who are those people that you're going to be contractually bound to once you close on the property. Like I've walked away from multiple deals just based on the tenants. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Real Estate Investors Club podcast. Today, we have another conversation with Stefanie, episode 3 of our Starting Out as an Investor mini-series. And in this week's episode, we're going to talk about how to start building a team, which team members you need, how to go about selecting them, and also the famous breakup conversation with the real estate broker that is at the beginning of all of our investment journeys. Please enjoy listening. So this is another episode with Stefanie, our beginning investor, who's now a recurring guest. And we're going through her journey that went from being a complete newbie in the field to closing on a first investment property. And in this episode today, we're going to cover what it's like to begin to analyze deals, and then what it feels like to throw out those first offers. Who are already giggling. There's going to be like a lot of emotions attached to this.
Yeah.
So Stefanie, just introduce yourself super quick, and then let's dive right in.
Okay. Hi. Thanks again for having me on the show. Like Terrie said, my name's Stefanie. I just closed on my first deal. Throughout this journey, I realized that there was a lot of emotions attached to the steps involved in this journey. And I just wanted to highlight them here and try to be a relatable resource for the listeners who are just starting off.
Thank you. Great. All right. So let's, in the last episode, we talked a little bit about, beginning to build a team. Who are the team members you need? How does that create accountability? And then, the famous breakup conversation that everybody has early on in their career with the broker, breaking up with a broker. And then now we're into deal analysis. So you guys, started working, you got your pre-approval from a mortgage broker. You started working with, a real estate broker, an investment real estate broker. And then now you're crunching numbers and analyzing deals. And so tell me, like, what was that like?
Also an overwhelming process. It started off really exciting because before, when we were analyzing deals, it was just for fun to see like, oh, what's out there? What are the cap rates? What are, just going through those different metrics. And now it was real, like one of the properties we were analyzing could have been ours. Now we have to think about, are we going to put in an offer? If we do, how much do we put in? Also, we knew what our parameters were. We knew how much we could put down. So we knew what our budget was, and that helped a lot when looking for deals. Like I said, it was kind of overwhelming because you need to, I guess, starting off, like I know theoretically what the metrics are that I should be looking at, but it was hard to tell, like, is this a good value? Is this worth it? Like, this property has some issues with it. Like, can we overcome those? There's just a lot of stuff that I felt like I didn't know going in. And I think having that I keep on saying mortgage broker, the real estate broker that was helping us, just having that resource and someone experienced walk us through it and give their opinion on what's good, what's bad, like that's helped a lot. And definitely a key element in our journey, because starting off, you don't know what you don't know. And it just helped a lot to have someone be able not to call those shots, but to be like, yeah, no, I wouldn't even touch a loft, like a building that has 4 units, but they're all bachelor units. Like there's a lot more turnover on that. If we wanted to get a management property, they're less likely to take us on. So there's just some things that we hadn't thought about that our real estate broker was able to help us with.
Mm-hmm. And so, okay, so that's maybe like analyzing, because there's two aspects to deal analysis. And I think this is important. Like, I think a lot of the real estate training is very numbers heavy. Okay. And it's normal because most people are not used to looking at financial statements and doing financial projections for buildings. So like for sure there's a big learning curve there. And like maybe let's save that for a little bit later on in the discussion. But initially I think there's also the building related factors. And this is where the you don't know what you don't know is important. So like unit size, what particular kind of maintenance issues are there, being able to read a seller's declaration, understand what's a no-go, what is some kind of a problem that you might be able to solve. So there are all those, like on the one side, maybe there's like, let's say building related factors. And on the other side, there's just the financial analysis. And I don't know if maybe in splitting those two things apart, what was it like for you guys to like first interacting with financial statements? Like, was that easy? Was that anxiety provoking? Like what feelings were associated with that?
Almost like frustration. A lot of the numbers that we needed weren't listed. So you always need to be able to talk to your broker and get those details that are not directly in the listing, like on our side of it. So I think communication definitely helped, and sharing the properties that we were potentially interested in and sharing that with our broker where they can get all those numbers that we needed.
Yeah. So building out the financial model, like, and I think this is, for again, newer investors who, maybe there's in the expense column, right? Like maybe there's like 12, vacant spots in the expense column. And so like the listing broker didn't put anything for insurance, or they didn't put anything for management, or they didn't put anything for snow removal. And, the fact of talking to somebody, it could be your broker. It could also be just like another experienced investor who could be like, okay, you're looking at 4 to 5 plex. This is the rule of thumb. This is the industry standard of how much you should be paying.
Yeah.
And so like, if those expenses are not listed, this is the number you should plug in initially. And if something's like widely out of whack, it should also sort of be flashing. Like if you're looking at a, whatever, 4 or 5 plex and the insurance policy is $10,000, like something's wrong there. So,
Yeah.
that giving some kind of way like to benchmark that. And then as far as like building related factors, I think you're right as far as communication goes, and understanding like what kind of issues you're willing to take on. Because I think if you're looking, for example, you guys are shopping in Montreal. If you're looking in Montreal, if you want to get a decent deal on something, there's going to be issues. And then the question becomes, okay, what are the issues that you're willing to take on? Tenant related issues, maintenance related issues. Where do you feel like your value add is going to be? And, the kind of gut check of going through and being like, okay, well, I think maybe like I'm willing to put in some elbow grease with the management side of this. Or like maybe, I come from a construction family. And so like, I'm not so worried about niggling construction issues because I feel like something can back me there, in terms of evaluating how bad are the issues.
Right.
We have anything else you want to share on that matter?
I was just going to say that even though we were aware of some of those, another point that I found difficult was just estimating how much money we would need. So if we knew of an issue, like there's a leak upstairs, like I don't know how much those things cost. There's so many things that I just don't know. And how am I supposed to like properly do my deal analysis and know if this building's actually going to turn me a profit or won't like dig a hole in my pocket? I don't know. That I found challenging as well. But again, working with someone experienced definitely helped ease those thoughts a little bit, and gave us a better idea of how much we would need to put in reparations. And yeah.
Have you really been listening to the episode, or has your monkey mind been taking you off in one direction or another? Our mental habits can be our biggest assets or our biggest liabilities as we pursue certain goals. For me, the biggest performance gains have always come from training my mind. In my book, Mindful Landlord, I talk about how you can train your mind and how you can apply some of these strategies to your journey in the real estate field. The book is available on Amazon and also on its website, mindfullandlord.com. And now I'll stop evangelizing for the power of mental training and let you get back to the show. And so then how do you move from analysis paralysis to let me sign my name to a deal that has all these zeros behind it, because that's like a very scary moment for, I think, just about every investor, is like signing of those initial offers. So like what was that like?
Um, that honestly, for me, I didn't find that part too bad because the process was just so quick. We found a property that, well, okay, I'm going to rewind a little bit because we had put in some offers. Well, because you had said that we need to put in as many offers as possible and not to be scared of that. So going into it with that mentality, knowing that at any point, like I can back out, like you said, that there were different clauses in the offer where we can back out, like that was reassuring. Sorry, I feel like I'm all over the place, but
Yeah. No, I mean, like, definitely, like, so to understand that, like, an offer is just an offer.
yeah,
And I think that, like, when you come into this as, like, somebody new, you take that piece of paper very seriously. And I think you take it more seriously than anybody else involved, right? Like, the seller's not taking it that seriously. The two brokers, the broker representing you and the receiving broker, it's just another offer, man. Like,
yeah,
we draw up, I don't want to say like tens of those every year, and with the full expectation that 70% of them get refused off the bat, and the ones
yeah,
that don't get refused will fail. Like, maybe for every 10 offers you make, maybe 20% look like they're actually going to move through the sale process. So like us as professionals who work in the industry, like, we don't take them very seriously, but it's um getting over that hurdle initially to make offers and not feel like, oh, I'm going to have to buy this thing and I'm going to get, straight jacketed into something and end up somewhere that I don't want to be.
yeah. And I think the difference is that an offer for an investment property or like a multifamily building is so different than an offer on, let's say, a condo or a single family home. So going into it, I feel like a lot of people have that misconception that it's exactly the same. You put in an offer and you're just doing an inspection. If the inspection passes, then you get the building. But what I didn't realize were that there were all these conditions. Like you get to look at the leases, you get to look at do an inspection. And if you are not 100% satisfied with any of those conditions, you can back out. So that was definitely reassuring once I put that into perspective. And I also feel like we didn't always even get to the point of putting in an offer. Like you get mentally prepared to put in an offer, but then the agent calls the other agent and you find out that there's already other offers. So again, that emotional roller coaster, but we had gone through it a few times so that when it actually came time to put in an offer for the building that ended up getting accepted, it kind of didn't feel like a big deal. And like I said, it happened really quickly because I don't know. I don't know. Why does it happen so quickly? It's just like we jumped on the opportunity and it got accepted the day later. And it was just like we were in the situation and there was no going back at that point. And kind of exciting, but a little bit scary, but more exciting. Yeah.
But I mean, to me, that is how it should be, right? Like, and I think in terms of how human beings manage anxiety, right? Like, that we have this whole approach behavior situation. And so, like, for us, it can be very, like, intimidating to approach something that you're a little bit afraid of, but the more you familiarize yourself with being in that situation, the less anxiety provoking it becomes. And so the fact of just understanding that, like, an offer is just a piece of paper, and like you said, I think it's a really good point to mention the difference between putting an offer on a single family dwelling that you're going to occupy, and basically, like, you visit it once and then you need to make an offer, and if the inspection passes, you're buying it. That is not the process of buying an investment property, because the due diligence, there's so many more steps in the due diligence process, and there needs to be, and there's, like, often also many more points of negotiation that are inserted in there, because every single step of the way, so examining the documents, like, if you're going to look at the leases, it's very rare. I would say 10% of the leases that I look at in my practice as an investor, as a broker, are done properly, or done, according to my satisfaction. So, like, it seems simple to just verify leases, but, like, once you start sniffing around in there, there's, like, a whole bunch of stuff that can be done completely wrong, and that gives significant loopholes that you kind of need to watch out for. So you're verifying the documents, you're meeting, and you're looking at the tenants. And, like, even though that's kind of like a soft criteria, when you go in and look at the state of the building. The physical state of the building is one thing, the state of the tenants, and to see like who are those people that you're going to be contractually bound to once you close on the property. Like I've walked away from multiple deals just based on the tenants, nothing to do with the property, just who's living in there. And do I feel like I want to deal with those people and be kind of like, handcuffed to them for the next 5 years? You can definitely walk away from that and be like, no.
Yeah.
And, same thing with the inspection, right? Like inspecting a condo, once you've read what's going on with the co-property, like in the minutes of the meetings, like that's a kind of a simple purchase. Whereas like if you're purchasing like a fourplex with 4 kitchens, 4 bathrooms, 4 water heaters, a foundation, a roof, brickwork, like there's just a lot of variables to look at. And then there's a lot of things that, you need to evaluate in terms of financially, how much is it going to cost me to fix these issues and what issues am I willing to take on?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And something else that I didn't know about making an offer is that there's timelines involved. So you do have the steps to look at the leases. You have this, you can go visit the property. You can um, like do the inspection, all that stuff, but there's timelines involved. And for me at first that was comforting. I was like, okay, well, like I like having a plan, and I know within the first few days I have to do this, within the next few days I have to do this. But then I started stressing because I was like, well, they're taking too long to get back to us. What do we do now? And then I relaxed again when I realized that those timelines can be pushed a little bit. Like if we have reason for delays, then you can push that out a little bit. So for anyone starting off like that, that was something that I didn't know that maybe beginner investors would like to be aware of, that there are those timelines in place, and they are there to be followed, but can be flexible at times.
And they're also, structured in I want to say kind of a logical way, right? Like
Yeah.
that, you'll front load the examining of the documents and the visiting of the property. And so then after that, like that usually happens within, 2, 3, 4 days of getting an accepted offer. And then you have 2, 3 days to sit back and think about it. So, you can go visit, and it's not like you have to walk out of the visit and decide right away, this is what I want to do. No, you have like, whatever, 24, 48 hours to sit down and think about it. And then the inspection is a bit further down the road, and then you're going to have 4 days to receive your inspection report back. Think about it, negotiate, because maybe you're going to want to, once you see who the tenants are, once you see the state of the building, like maybe you're going to want to negotiate stuff. And so all of that kind of like follows a logical process, at which point, if you're not comfortable with something, you can get second opinions, extend delays a little bit, and that is somewhat flexible.
Yeah. And something else that I wanted to point out is that a lot of people think you just have to get lucky to find a deal. But what I've come to realize is that luck, I think, is part of it. When you like find a hidden, you get some hidden information that maybe no one else knows about. But I think it's almost like you have to create that luck for yourself. You can't just analyze one property and then just hope that it's going to work out. I think we analyze like over 50 where we ran the numbers, and like that could be discouraging as well sometimes, because it's just such a repeated process. You like get excited because there's a new property on the market, you analyze it and it doesn't work out, and you have to wait for new ones to come out, and it's just like this cycle of emotions. And yeah, it's not really about luck. It's about going out there, analyzing it, pushing through the disappointments, and pushing through those feelings of discouragement, and just don't stop. Just continue looking, and something will come up.
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely true. I think that, good deals for you are created. It's not a question of luck, because the perfect deal in today's market doesn't exist. So you have to, in a sense, create it by uncovering things that other people don't know, by being willing to do things other people aren't willing to do, or, seeing an angle that maybe taking on something that somebody else isn't willing to take on or doesn't have the skills to take on. And so I think you're absolutely right. I think that like this, sense that, oh, you just have to get lucky. I think that's not true. I think you do that by pounding the pavement, analyzing the data, visiting stuff. And then once you see something that you think might work for whatever your skill set is, where you have some kind of way to make money in that deal, then that ends up being the right decision.
Yeah. And I know you had some episodes on like analyzing the interest rates right now. And like a lot of people are scared of entering into the market at this time, but like you just have to make it into an opportunity. A lot of people have asked me like, oh, aren't you scared of the interest rates? I'm like, not at all. Like this gives me leverage and being able to bid lower than the asking price. And like you said, you just have to create it. And so the interest rates never really scared me. It just got thrown into the calculations when I was running my analyses. And if it worked out, it worked out. If it didn't, move on to the next. Yeah, you just have to create it, find something that works. There's stuff out there.
And so what was then the next step, right? So now you got your accepted offer. Now you're going through the due diligence process. What was the next kind of hurdle that you felt like you had to get over? Just give us a preview. We're going to save this for the next episode, but give us a preview.
Just being, again, not knowing what I didn't know. There were so many steps after I got the accepted offer that I just wasn't aware of. Let's say finding the notary. Like I did not know at what point I had to start looking for a notary until everyone was asking me, who am I going to go with? And I'm like, I don't know. And then, yeah, there's so many things that I just wasn't aware of. And I wasn't sure how that needed to play out. So that was a learning curve as well. We'll get into that next episode.
We're gonna save that for next time. Again, thank you for your honesty, your transparency of sharing your journey with me, with our listeners, and hopefully, if we can, inspire someone to get over the specific hurdle that they're facing, we've done our job today.
Thanks.